I had to do Blended
No, I know
first
you
because
had
I
to
saw
do it
that movie like
first.
3 hours ago.
No, I know. I'm just saying, because I'm, like, going on 24 hours up, and, like, the last 2 days, I've had, like, 6 hours of sleep, and then before that, I've been sleeping, like,
Well, I just
4
talked
hours or
for
less.
I just talked for God knows how long about fucking Blended.
No, you're not
but-
starting it here. Well, I'm like,
You're fine.
we always do that.
Don't hide. They know you're here.
Okay, I want to make this clear. I was not expected to come out and see this, and I'm glad I did. It was a good movie. I liked it. I'm running on, like, nothing. I got ready and came out here because, was it Brian that was supposed to see it? Okay, I don't know if he was supposed to be both. He couldn't come. So I am here. I basically saw the X-Men First Class. I was, like, got a hold of it and was watching it before, and then I get the call to be like, hey, I'm coming. So I'm, like, skipping through, like, all right, I get this tidbit, this pit. So I basically saw the first movie. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to make a lot of sense. Like, I'm having problems already formulating words.
Well, neither of us are. Neither of us are huge comic book people, so it's not like.
No,
we
I
can-
love the movie. I'm just saying.
Well, I just
actually-
mean like to talk about really specific things with how it ties into all that. But I honestly,
tie in, but-
I really loved this movie. I did. I loved this movie.
I want to say one thing before I forget, and we both notice this. Anna Paquin gets fucking top billing over Ellen Page, over Peter Dinklage. Anna Paquin is in the movie for 20 seconds or less, if that.
It was less than that.
Or less, I wasn't counting. But I'm like, she had like an hour scene, they just cut out of there. I would
don't
be
know.
pissed. That was just wrong.
I don't know.
Right.
But this is going to be harder to talk about than Blended because I really dug this movie. I'm not like I'm the type of X-Men movie fan to where I go to them to have a pretty good time at the movies. I do. I'm not.
The movie fan, not so much the comics, so you
Well,
don't get
I'm-
mad at what's changed.
I wouldn't even know what to complain about in terms of that, but this is such a giant universe with so many movies that even though I've really liked about 80% of the movies,
It's time travel, so it's all...
even though I like a lot of those, I could not. It'd be hard for even me to keep a lot of characters straight.
Most of them.
There are so
so
many
you
of
know.
these movies, and I've really only kind of seen them whenever they've come out because I watch so many movies that it's hard for me to find time to go back and rewatch stuff. It really is. I loved X-Men First Class. I only saw it
I
the
loved
one
what I
time.
saw of it.
You were asking me about specifics about that, and I was
saw-
like,
well, okay.
I can't.
My copy that I obtained completely legally, something was wrong with it, and it did not have subtitles. So I'm MacGyvering between the Polish and the German, you know what I'm talking about, with Magneto and everything. And I got kind of what was going on, and then I'm going through, and I'm like, what the fuck? Kevin Bacon is young now? What the crap is this? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting it as I go. And they keep switching back, and so I didn't see, of course, the whole movie, and I'm asking him to fill in the holes because I was literally watching
And I'm like,
tidbits when I got to a
I
certain
saw that
part.
movie 3 years ago. It feels like an eternity.
Well, it was funny because you were explaining it well, but you were explaining the parts that I already got, and I'm like, well, no, after that, how did that happen? You did good. From what you
I mean,
thought
yeah,
I was asking.
there are people who can talk in and out about the continuity of these movies, what made sense in one and didn't make sense in the other, what one said in one and what one said in another, and then that doesn't make sense, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm just going to this to have fun.
They did do the point, and I noticed because I was paying attention, and the show's, good on them, because the whole point of this is basically Terminator 2. With X-Men.
Yeah. I was just gonna say it's one of the best X-Men movies I've seen, and also one of the best Terminator.
It's Terminator with
movies I've
mutants.
seen.
Even in the opening,
Yeah.
before they had like what you exactly had to
was
do,
thinking
you've got
that,
the
too.
mounds of skulls and everything. I was like, holy shit.
I was thinking about that too.
The whole thing revolves around Mystique and stopping her from killing Peter Dinklage. Nobody's gonna watch this for like 3 days till they actually see the movie anyway. So, but yeah, it stops her action of like the first kill that sets apart like this horrible path and, you know, creates these sentinels, and then they end up, it's basically like post-apocalyptic Terminator age, because then the sentinels, instead of identifying mutants to kill, they start identifying the mutant genes and people that will have kids that'll be mutants, and they start like fucking killing everybody. So they send Wolverine back in time because he's the only one that can do it with his brain healing, because it would tear him apart, to do all this. And here's my thing with the whole, well, you go into it, because I've got a few, like, time questions. Oh, see, I'm sorry, I'm fragmented already. What I was going to say is they made it a good point with all of the fighting to show that anybody she fought was still alive. Like, that dude she choked out, they, like, zoomed down, and he's, like, still breathing, because you know there'd be people who'd be like, wait, you said Peter Dinklage was the first one that she killed, and there's that guy, so they were really cognizant of making sure that you knew that the people she fucked up were alive.
It's a really good, honestly, this one is more so than a lot of them. This one's a really good ensemble piece. Like, yeah, it really is, because, yeah, you do follow Hugh Jackman a lot in this movie, but it's not really necessarily just a Wolverine movie. In fact, in terms of character arcs,
I'd say it's more Xavier and Mystique.
Yeah, Xavier, Mystique, Magneto, they have way more the story arc in this than Wolverine does. Wolverine is definitely the, you know, the tool that keeps everything, that keeps everything going. Like, he does carry the story through, he certainly does. And this is a part he could play in his sleep. He's great, and at this point, he like he's you know, like, he's dirty. He's Harry Callahan, you know. He's Clint Eastwood when you seeing him play Dirty Harry in the Deadpool. Or
young Eric or Magneto, he reminds me of if Wolverine and like Don Draper had a baby, and then young Eric was born, because he's just got that like kind of crass asshole, but so fucking cool.
Oh, Fassbender?
Huh?
Michael Fassbender?
Oh, Eric, I don't know all the actors' names, I apologize. But yeah, whoever was playing Xavier, I kept looking at him when I was watching the first movie before you picked me up, and I was like, I know that guy. I look it up, I'm like, it's the fucking goat bastard from Narnia. And it took me forever, like, during this, I'm like, no, goat bastard, and then he finally, like, got back
He's young
into
Patrick
Xavier.
Stewart, obviously.
Yes, but he does that. Like, Ewan McGregor did the same thing with Alec Guinness. Like, there's moments in this movie, and before as well, but more so this one because they actually connect, where you look at him, you're like, I believe that's a young Xavier. I believe that's a young, you know,
Yeah, same with
Obi-Wan.
First Class.
Well,
Same
no,
with X-Men
but
First
more
Class.
so in this because you just have those moments where, because it's kind of, and this is going to be a really bad example, I'm going to get shit. You've got, I compare it with Obi-Wan because I don't know a lot of whole, like, before and after movies, but, you know, you've got him in the first one where it's like, okay, that's him, and then the second one, he takes on more of those personality traits and the way they deliver lines and just the emotion in it. To me, it's like, in this one, it was more of a connection where I looked at it more so and I was like, that's a young Xavier.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a better movie than the Star Wars prequels.
No,
I
I'm
know,
talking
I got
about the growth of from one movie.
I know what you're talking about.
No, because now everybody's gonna be like, comparing it to the prequels. I'm not comparing this to the prequels. I'm comparing it with an actor who's playing an older actor.
I think that people who don't even speak English will understand what you were saying.
You know what? I don't understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to say words, and my brain with insomnia. I was the wrong person to bring to this.
What I do like about
I'm sorry.
what are you apologizing for?
Because I hate it when. Okay, go.
No, go ahead.
No, they want to hear what you have to say. You go. I'll work off of you.
I could talk about this as much as you because I'm not a comic book expert.
I know, but
either.
they want to hear you
When that
talk
thing
about
popped up at the end after the ending credits, I didn't know who that was.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, oh, okay, that's I don't know, Sandwoman creating the pyramids. All right, is always that fucking Jay Davidson from fucking Stargate in there?
I know, I was like, Kumun-Ra. Yeah, so at the end credits, and I was like, Eileen was like, that's for the comic people. I don't know who it was, but it's like, basically, you've got all of these Egyptian people bowing, and you see, like, the big, like, I'm gonna say Imhotep, like, shrouded figure with the hands out moving pyramids and shit. And then it turns around and it's like, I guess it's a girl. I couldn't tell if it was a guy or a girl. It's very androgynous, but yeah. So
Yeah, more so than
somebody, like,
fucking
grayish.
Sandler's daughter and the fucking Blended.
Back to the Blended. But yeah, Peter Dinklage was great. I honestly, if someone were to win an award from this, it's hard between the three.
It's
kids,
a really,
but-
really fucking well-made movie. Like, I wasn't... When they announced that
Halle
Brian...
Berry was kind of like, all right, I'm here.
But, like, I wasn't really when it was announced that Bryan Singer was returning to direct it. I can't say that I was like crapping my pants over that. Like I don't dislike Bryan Singer in any way, shape, or form, but he hasn't made my favorite X-Men movies. And some of the other work he's done has been
You know,
like,
directors are way better than I do.
well, I mean, like some of the other work that he's done outside of X-Men and The Usual Suspects, I mean, is kind of, I could honestly really take or leave. So when it was announced
Even though
Bryan
it's the same
Singer,
person.
what?
I didn't even know that was the same person.
Bryan Singer? He
No,
did-
like if you said who directed Usual Suspects, I wouldn't
Oh.
know.
Yeah, he did X-Men, X-Men 2, Jack the Giant Slayer.
Which had what's his face from X-Men in it.
He did Superman Returns. But anyway, yeah, I'd been like, okay, well that's all right. Let's hope he does good and doesn't make it fucking bland. This is one of the better X-Men movies. I really do like how, and this is the same. This is I can say this about the other X-Men movies that I liked, in that the movie does. These movies, when they're at their best, they put together really three-dimensional, quote-unquote villains. What I really like here is that,
The villains aren't villains.
yeah, they're written from where, when you're looking at it from their point of view, they are the antagonists that, and the trait of a great quote-unquote villain does this to where, in their eyes, they are not the villain. In their eyes, they are doing
Protecting
good.
that there's a threat.
Yeah, in their eyes, they think that they are protecting their people.
They did one more better than that, is yes, they wanted to protect, but it's made known that he admires the mutants, because Peter Dinklage is the guy that, you know, he
Oh, I was
Skynet.
talking more about, I wasn't really talking about Peter Dinklage.
Oh, because he's made to be like the catalyst, like him and Mystique. So,
Yeah.
But what I liked about it, it wasn't the typical, we need to wipe these people out, and they brought that up, and he was like, no, on the contrary, I admire them.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you can say that about him, too. He's a lot more like Joseph Mengele than...
he wanted a safety net, and then it's the fact that the machines evolve into taking it over and being like, oh, you're gonna have a mutant kid, and like blah blah blah, and starts killing everybody. So the future is not what he had intended, versus some of the other movies where they're like, we have to get rid of all the mutants. So I did like that.
He had some sweet 70s hair going on. He looked like a mini Richard Keel in this.
He looked like he should have been on Anchorman,
Yeah,
like sitting in
kinda.
there with Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Some of the action sequences in this are great. There's some great action set pieces in this that go back and forth between looking like regular film, which the movie does. I don't know if this is the case, but it looks like it has a very
The 70s they were
1970s.
recording
it,
on.
it has a very 1970s film stock look to it, or hell, just film stock in general. But I don't know if that was the case, but it had a good look like that to it. It had a good warmth like that to it. But also cutting back and forth to, like,
Before
you
and
know,
after.
Zapruder style film, you know, like, oh yeah, which, by the way, it's something for the JFK conspiracy
Oh no,
theorists.
Diamanda ruined that for me because she tweeted it before it came out in the U.S. I was like, really? Not that it's a huge spoiler, but I was like, you couldn't wait
Now
till it
you
was
know how
released in the US.
JFK was killed.
Yeah,
For conspiracy theorists out there, hey,
this actually is kind of plausible.
JFK was a mutant and Magneto had a hand. So
No, Magneto was trying to stop it though. Like,
Yeah.
because at first they're like, but yeah, she tweeted, and it's like, no offense, because we say the same shit, and if you're in a different country, you're not going to think about it. But it was before it, we would have gotten the pre-screening even. So it's like, because they get their pre-screenings ahead of time, and I was like, wow, you're going to piss off a lot of people who didn't go, because she's like, I guess JFK is a mutant, and I'm like, I didn't know where it was coming from it, but I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So when they started leading all into that, I'm like, oh, I know where this is going.
It's oddly enough not the dumbest conspiracy theory I've ever heard.
What'd you think of the Nixon in this?
Oh, he had the voice down, all right. I mean, certainly.
It was eerie because he looked like the Futurama Nixon.
He looked like he
like
was
a
a guy who
character.
was made up to look like Richard
But that's
Nixon.
what I'm saying. He looked like a character. He
Yeah, he
didn't
did.
look human.
Yeah, well, neither did Richard
No,
Nixon, really.
no, but I'm serious. Like he looked like if they would have been like, "Hi, we're gonna take this animation of Richard Nixon from Futurama, and we're gonna put this little machine. It's gonna pop out a guy." I felt like I was watching one of those, like, you know how they turn Disney characters and they walk around
Yeah.
the theme park. I felt like it was, you know, a Princess Jasmine version of
Well, they like
Futurama Nixon. Don't play with that.
they
Sicky.
they had
You are sick, aren't you?
they
You're
no
sick.
I'm not. They played around a lot with like Nixon era paranoia, like how Dinkler just kind of taken advantage of Nixon being a very paranoid president to kind of get him to sign on to his work that he was doing,
program.
the programs that he was doing, and
I didn't take it that because he took it to Congress and got shut down. He took it to the Vietnamese and got it shut down.
yeah, but Nixon was a very paranoid
Right.
president and probably would sign off on something
But
like
I'm just
that.
saying, because he looked right at the guys that shut him down. He's like, well, I did bring it to Congress, but so it didn't come to me as a...
To Mayor Ebert.
Oh, speaking of Futurama, one of my favorite scenes in there is when Peter, and they didn't say his mutant name, you said it's
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. I thought the other dude was Quicksilver. But anyway, basically there's a scene where they're breaking Eric out of the Pentagon because he's in
That
the bottom.
was really well done.
Yes, and he's at the bottom because he killed JFK, but even though he's trying to protect him. So they do like the whole Futurama thing at one point because they all meet up and then finally they get caught and you've got all the guys and they fire guns. So immediately he puts like I was going to say iPhone, but obviously, or earbuds or whatever in, or whatever they have, that 70s headphones. Sorry, sleep. I apologize. And puts goggles on, running along the walls like drops of water because the sprinkler system's on, like taking food that's like halfway going, picking like the bullets and
Yeah.
things, and like putting like wedgie and changing everything around, and then finally it snaps in, and it was just like Fry when he had the 100 cups of coffee. I loved it, that entire
3D
scene.
was good in that scene too.
It was good through most of it.
I think there was something slightly wrong with the projector. For the most part, it seemed fun.
Because I thought it was my glasses.
No, like I was catching that too. Like
Okay.
a lot of things were like doubled, like some stuff you would see in the background. It wasn't throughout the whole movie. Just I think that was more so a problem with the projector.
I thought it was me or my glasses because of my...
No,
Okay.
I saw it too, but
Alright.
but there's other 3D in it that's fine.
The credits, of course. It's like, that would be like a ride at Universal. They do like the whole DNA and
Oh,
the doors and stuff.
yeah.
I'm like, this needs moving chairs.
I think I liked it. I probably liked it better than I did the Wolverine, which came out last year. At least
still
this
need to see
this
that
movie
one.
was more. It's really good. Make sure you watch the Wolverine and not Origins Wolverine. But
I'll see them all.
yeah, I mean, if you want to be a completist, yeah, sure.
If I was a
There's
completist,
just
I'd read the comics. I just don't
it's
know
like
that.
any series. There's going to be some that are good and some that aren't. But
I thought it was weird that, like, not saying the metal because it's the 70s, so he hasn't gotten his adamantium skeleton yet. So it's this fucking bone. So every time he does the bone claws, I'm like, oh. And,
you've never seen that before?
No, I haven't,
Oh.
because you guys, you have your comic book people that I've been getting by default.
Yeah.
Silver medal. So yeah, every
Thank
time
Brian's
the,
car.
Thank you, Brian, for your misfortune. I'm sorry, now I feel bad. But no, with the bone and stuff, I was just, and there's a few moments where I'm like, that probably would have broken.
There's some
bones out of
carnage
there.
in this too. Like at the end when like the present day mutants are just getting fucking slaughtered.
Yeah, like the three with like the blowtorchy things on
Yeah,
them.
holy shit, getting like their exploded, ripped in half, faces melted off, decapitated, fucking thrown off a fucking cliff and stuff like that. Holy shit.
Blink got stabbed by and Blink was doing like all the portal shit. That was awesome.
Yeah, I caught it.
Basically what's going on, and I guess we should somewhat explain it, because I was very confused, even though, I got pieces of the
When
first
the movie
one.
started, I was kind of like, did I miss a movie in between?
That's exactly what I was thinking, because I caught, the bits and pieces of the first one, and I'm still not sure when they brought Xavier back because he's there in the future. But so basically, like, you've got Iceman and these mutants, and they're doing all of this, like, covert stuff, typical post-apocalyptic fight against stuff. And what's been going on is Kitty's using her power, and she somehow projects the mind of the present person into the past people and warns them when the Sentinels find them, so they prevent it. So you're seeing people die, but then they don't die because then it's prevented. And so that's all through that, but I'm watching it, and then Xavier's like, well, I won't have my powers then, Logan, so you're gonna have to convince me. I'm like, they just cited your dissertation, and you had powers in the other movie, like, why don't you have powers? And they kept saying things that I'm like, okay, so are we to think that everything that happened in the movies we saw up to this point are that way because of the changes that happen, that Logan does? And then it's kind of like, oh, you've got that serum thing so you can fucking walk, because I was confused as shit until, like, about, how long was it before they finally explained what the fuck was going on?
Well, it seems like it's pretty much written X-Men 3 out of continuity, which will make a lot of people happy.
But that's
Not
what
me
I don't
though.
understand.
I can't fucking
Xavier come
stand.
back?
I can't fucking stand Cyclops. I wanted him to stay
Yeah,
dead.
but we get Jean back, so that's good.
I would. You know what? I'd be fine with her staying dead if it meant there was no more Cyclops.
Yeah, but you gotta have that antagonist.
Man, I don't miss that fucking whole storyline.
But okay, and then here's the other thing, because, yeah, time travel, you can always go the what ifs, this and that, and it's kind of like, alright, so obviously I'm sure they explain it in the comics, and maybe they've explained it in a different movie. How did Eric get out of the Pentagon? Because I know they mentioned that he was, like, in huge trouble in the other movies, but it's kind of like, if they broke him out with this purpose, how was he around elsewise? Because he was there no matter what.
I don't remember.
And if Mystique ends up being the Colonel at the end, when he's like, "Oh, I'll take him for Logan,"
been the first
so
time
then how did Logan get a skeleton if it's Mystique?
That wouldn't have been the first time we would have seen Magneto escape from a prison in these movies.
I know, but he always had cronies, and he was completely solitude. I'm just saying.
I'm sure.
And he got his hat from Peter Dinklage.
I'm sure it is explained somewhere. It's not that.
I'm just saying. Again, nitpicking time travel. That's what that purpose was.
That's hardly a...
Okay, well then answer the Mystique thing then, because the Mystique...
I can't, because I'm not an expert on this series.
No, it's not even...
Huh?
No, that just completely takes it out, because...
What are you talking about?
The colonel, or the general, or whatever, that, like, kidnaps Logan and gives him the adamantium skeleton, they fish him up from the boat, and then Mystique was actually the general, because things had changed. And so I was like, so then does he not get his skeleton because Mystique, like, stole him?
That's a question for you out
Shenanigans!
there. I'm sure that's something that could easily be explained.
I know, again.
I'm the wrong person to ask that.
I told you, I'm nitpicking time travel for the sake of nitpicking. It's fun.
I go to these movies to have a really good time, and I had a really good time, and I did not feel insulted.
Oh no, I didn't feel insulted.
I didn't feel like nothing like that really stood out for me. But again, I'm not an expert on the X-Men films. And there's just a lot that goes on in them, and there's a lot of characters that's not easy to keep track of when you really only kind of just see them when they first come out. But I do, for the most part, like them. The only ones I really didn't like were like X3 and Origins Wolverine kind of sucked. But
no, I didn't do like the comics or anything. I only know of X-Men the movies, but I think it's the timelinist in me that was like, but wait, if that happened, then what about this? Because I was trained for years to question the Zelda timeline. I know you don't know. I'm just saying. Fine, you don't think it's fun. I think it's fun to argue time travel and...
Well, I don't know what to say because I'm not...
Whatever your imagination says to say.
I don't know the comic books that well.
I don't either. I'm not asking you for like an actual answer. I'm asking you what you think.
Oh, what do I think?
Yes. It wasn't definitive. It was more so like, what do you think?
How do I think Eric got out of the Pentagon jail? I don't know. It's not unrealistic for me to to
They
believe that
isolated him from everybody.
Yeah, they've done that before. That's happened before.
No, but I meant like he had no allies. The only reason he had ended up having allies is because Logan came back to the past.
I'm sure something would have been figured out.
I'm just saying.
And honestly, I'm sure he probably still had some allies out there. But yeah,
I want to see that story though. That's what I'm saying.
Him getting out of the thing.
Yes, with the non-time travel-y stuff, like because you have to have like.
I apologize if this stuff has been addressed in other movies. This isn't me just being whatever. If it's been addressed in other movies, please don't yell at me.
I haven't seen all of them, so. The only thing I'm really unclear that is actually bothering me is how Xavier is there, because the last X-Men I saw was the third one, and he's dead at the end of that.
He's at the end of... He appears at the end of the Wolverine.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, the Wolverine was good. This one is more consistently good, because the Wolverine was like really, really good, and then got kind of silly in the last 15 or so minutes of it. I mean, in terms of like the final 15 minutes of a movie, it didn't annoy me as much as the end of Star Trek Into Darkness, but
This annoyed you?
it kind of no, the Wolverine.
Oh.
This movie's way more consistently good for me than the Wolverine was, and I did really like the Wolverine a lot. Like I said, it got kind of over the top a bit in the last.
Oh, is that the Asian-y one?
Yeah, that's.
I want to see that.
That one's good.
Oh, okay.
That one is good. It gets kind of cartoonish in the last part of it, but other than this one I overall liked better. I love Hugh Jackman in these movies. So
I love when he went through the metal
like the
detector,
Wolverine.
like the presidential speech, and he's like waiting for it to go off,
That
and
was fun.
forgetting that he doesn't have a skeleton yet.
Yeah, that was funny. He has those man with no name, Harry Callahan looks to him sometimes. Like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is sort of like kind of a modern day, like Sean Connery as James Bond. Clint Eastwood is his iconic character.
Oh, iconic. Okay, sorry.
Like that, like, just from people are just gonna. He's just gonna be synonymous with live action Wolverine. He's
Well,
great. He's played the part so many times. He's
you know what's gonna happen to him in the comic, though, right? I wonder how that's gonna affect the movies. They've announced that they're killing off Wolverine. There's a big fuss. It wouldn't be the first time they killed off like a big old comic person.
I'm not saying that they're not going to kill him off.
Sure.
All I'm saying is the comic books can do their own thing, and the movie will probably.
I
do
know.
the same
I'm just
thing.
saying. I'm like, man, I really hope they don't incorporate that part in there. But unless word has changed, but the last I heard, it was not going over well. It's like, why would you announce that though? It's like, unless you're trying to gauge your audience.
You know
like,
more about that than
hey.
I do.
No, I don't.
Of course you do. I didn't know as much as what you just said.
Got my finger in the pulse. I'll finger anything with a pulse. No, son, I think he means finger on the pulse. No, it's not. Bob's Burgers. Sorry. I told you
It was
not to
almost
bring
a
me. I'm
quote from
very sorry.
Sabotage. Except slightly more PG rated. I really want an R-rated Wolverine movie. Like, so bad. Really, the Wolverine should have been a hard R. It wasn't. PG-13. Even though he's stabbing motherfuckers left and right in the goddamn thing. They really need to grow some balls and fucking make an R-rated Wolverine.
Well, that was like, because we went past the Maleficent poster, and I didn't even think about it, because I was doing, again, for the Geek Juice Trailer Park, and Maleficent was on there. And I'm reviewing it, and then I go into the Snow White Tale of Terror thing. I can't even speak. Tale of Terror, where I'm like, rated R, bitches! And so I'm starting, and I'm about to send it to Alex, and then I look at the top of the thing, it says rated PG. I'm like, whoa, wait a second.
Well, yeah, isn't it a Disney movie?
But it's the Snow White one with Kristen Stewart. That was at least PG-13.
It wasn't a Disney movie.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know this was Disney.
Actually,
they're
I don't even know
advertising
if-
it. But they're advertising Maleficent as like a dark, like fairy tale-y thing. And so my thing is, if you're, well, it's Sleeping Beauty was Disney, but it's grim. I mean, they don't
Well, I know that, but I mean, like,
I don't know, but either way, it's the way that they're presenting it. And then they've got the war scenes in there, and I'm like, you're gonna have war scenes, but you're PGing it up like fucking, I think Narnia was PG or whatever, where they had like, battle. But now it's
That's
like,
what
I know the creepiest thing about that movie is gonna be the rendition of Once Upon a Dream. Like, the rest of it is just...
to me, it looks more like a Narnia thing than it does Snow White and the Huntsman. Snow White and the Huntsman from the trailer looked really dark with Charlize Theron like fucking bathing in milk and cutting animals open and shit.
Well,
This one
yeah,
looks...
on that, but I mean, you've got the whole like freaking war and dragon and all that. I'm not a... Well, anyway, we won't go into...
We're not even going to be at that movie anyway.
You get West was how the...
A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yeah, I think that's next week. A Million Ways to Die in the West, and... Maleficent.
Speaking, and I'm sure we'll go back to the X-Men, but we won't officially do trailers, but you just told me that the Tom Cruise one is based on a manga.
I think so.
I was like, so technically...
All you need is kill.
Huh?
That's what it's called.
I thought you meant the movie. I was like, that's not what the movie's called.
It was. They changed it to Edge of Darkness.
Because, yeah, I was like, so technically Tom Cruise is starring in a live-action anime because they have the anime renditions
Don't quote me on
of the
that.
manga.
Like,
I'm just saying, if it is...
I think I just saw a comment on that somewhere.
In theory, though, if this is true, and technically it is, even though the anime doesn't exist, because you've got the mangas, and the animes are the animated of the mangas, and then you have the live-action movies of the anime, so skipping a step there, Tom Cruise is in a live-action.
Okay.
I just think that's cool. Be like, hey, put him in Gantz and do a decent
I thought you were
movie.
asking me if I'd send you to because of that.
No,
Because
I'm just
you're
saying
the-
it's cool.
because
I
you
know
like
I'm not
anime.
getting sent into that.
Edge of
I'll probably read the manga out of curiosity. I've been calling it...
Have I been calling it Edge of Darkness?
Edge of Tomorrow or
Edge of
something?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm tired too. Edge of Darkness is the Mel Gibson movie. Brian and I will be at that since we're the Tom Cruise guys.
That's fine.
We're the only two. We're the only two people left on the internet who still love Tom Cruise.
I love Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we're all on the same site together.
You said only two people on the internet.
Oh,
Thank you.
Like I think that our website has the only remaining people on the internet who
We love you, Tom.
who still love Tom Cruise.
Maybe Tom Cruise is watching. Like,
The man does good work.
he does.
Maybe not Rock of Ages, but you know.
I thought you said you liked Rock of Ages.
Yeah, not Rock of Ages.
Somebody does. I don't know.
I don't know anyone who
I know
likes
so
Rock of
much hate.
Ages.
I am so out of it. I told him so many times I am not the right person to be coming tonight because of my status of mind.
Yeah, but it's always better to have two than, especially for a big summer movie like X-Men.
See, now you opened it up, they'll be like, whatever, I would have just done Red with the Bread only. Thank you very much.
Whatever. For me, it was better to have two.
Yeah,
people
I don't
there.
like when I'm like, because what's going to happen is the camera's going to go off and either on the drive home or when I drive you home and then I go home and be like, God damn it, I was in the theater and I want to talk about this and this and this, and then I get mad. And I know I'm not doing well right now and it upsets me.
You're doing fine.
No.
You're doing just fine.
I think I'm about to get to that point where it's like you're legally...
That happens to me. Like I forget stuff. Like I'll be driving home,
Yeah,
be
but
like,
it's
oh,
your
yeah,
site.
it's sort of like like with. Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yes, it does.
What? So I can magically
Yes.
put in the video me talking about something I forgot to talk about. Like, oh, I forgot to talk about the running gag of fist bumping in Blended. Oh no.
How could you leave that out?
The,
Shame on
the
you.
movie certainly left it in. But I highly recommend this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Way more than Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Way goddamn more than Spider-Man 2. I
If
thought this
you're
was better
going
than
between, This
Godzilla.
is definitely better 3D than like
Oh, I would say just see
anything
2D.
I've... Well, no, but what I'm saying is 3D wise, judging, this is better 3D than anything I've seen in a while in the theater.
I thought Spider-Man 2 3D was probably better, but like that's just because we had, I think, kind of a wonky projector. But it's not terrible 3D by any means. This movie is way better than Spider-Man 2. I liked it better than Godzilla. I liked it. I liked it a lot better than I did Godzilla,
Yeah,
and I
this is
liked Godzilla.
definitely a good way to start off the summer.
Between this
That's
and
very
Captain
nice.
America, yeah, the new Captain America was great. This movie, I had a blast at this movie. I had a really, really good time, especially after Blended. Yeah, way.
I was
more
almost
than
gonna
Blended.
like bring you like a little like drinky thing. Be like, here, you need this, buddy.
No, I didn't need that.
Well, I didn't have it.
The
The thought was there though.
No, thank you.
It's like if I had a little bottle, I would bring it for Brad, but I do not.
No, Blended sucked, but I've seen worse this year.
What other previews did we get?
That
We got another superhero preview. What did we get?
Lucy with Scarlett Johansson,
That's
where
not
it's like, let's
superhero.
take the plot of Limitless, but make it an action movie. There's even some lines that are word for word from Limitless.
I didn't see Limitless.
The new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer.
Oh yes, Guardians. I hope.
That looks entertaining
Not
as hell.
that I wish badness upon whoever is going to see that, but I really hope there's issues and I get to see that one by default.
That movie looks really
I might
fun.
just go anyways and just be like, all right, y'all can just come back to my place and do the review from there because I really want to see that. I love Chris Pratt. And to me, it looks like I mean, I know it's, the comic. I've never seen the comic, honestly. But it looks like a D&D venturing party in space. Like, I watched that, and it's going to be hard to, with Vin Diesel voicing Groot. It's like, oh, it's the Iron Giant if you close your eyes.
If it's anything like the comics, that'll be the only few words that he says. I am Groot.
Oh, so see, you do know stuff about the comics.
I didn't say I knew nothing about comics. I'm just not an expert by any means. I don't know though. Bad News Spoonie says Guardians is gonna be bad.
But that's Bad News Spoonie. He says bad things all the time.
I love Bad News Spoonie. If he's
I don't-
Bad News Spoonie, then I'm Good News Brad, and Guardians of the Galaxy looks
No,
fun.
you're Nuki, Brad.
No, like I will say this about hashtag Bad News Spoonie, and it's not the way that I like envy.
So is that
envy
like
that.
this? Like, is that
hang
like?
on.
Sorry.
Is that if you're Bad News Spoonie, that means you go to something and you're not very disappointed very often. Good News Brad gets disappointed way more than Bad News Spoonie.
I don't. Okay, because I asked you that because I see it a lot, and I'm like, I don't understand where that originated because I didn't follow all of that. Is that just kind of like?
What, Bad News Spoonie?
Yeah,
He's
like
Spoonie.
character?
He gives bad news.
No, I mean, is it Spoonie giving bad news, or is it like a character?
No, he's giving
Okay.
bad news. He's terrible.
because I didn't know because I was
if Guardians of
thinking
the
that guy-
Galaxy is going to be bad, then that's terrible news.
Well, because like I'll do like hipster whatever says or hipster Jillian says or blah blah blah, but I'm not actually a hipster. It's a not necessarily a character, but a written character.
He's
I
delivering
guess.
bad news to the masses.
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm gonna get so much shit for this video.
And I'm
I
Good
didn't
News
wanna go.
Brad, damn it.
I'm insomniac.
As somebody who sees everything, I'm still optimistic about things.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time I am. I'll say when I think something looks like a piece of shit. I still remain optimistic, damn it. Which leads me open to be disappointed by a
So
lot
you're
of things.
overly optimistic on the
I wouldn't
fact
say
that
I'm
I should
overly
be here.
optimistic.
No, about that.
About what?
I'm just gonna be quiet. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. This is bad.
You're fine.
No, really, I'm mortified right now.
No, come here.
Just end it. No, don't touch me.
Come here, bring it in. Bring it in. Ah,
You're
let's hug it out. Fist bump.